Support WrestleTalk!
It's time to give our predictions for Elimination Chamber Perth here on the WrestleTalk Podcast. I'm Luke Owen, DAD. I'm joined by Dan Layton, the Professor, the Truth, your Jam That Champion, Dan Layton.
Really good at predictions. Look at this.
You are, though, not defending the title this weekend. But that is also because we're not doing live reactions for the show this weekend.
Yeah.
Because, well, we were going to be doing a watch party, but stupid rugby stopped us doing the watch party for
Other
it.
sports exist. This is what happens when we get an event at a reasonable hour.
Exactly. Go back to America. At least there's no sport events on at 1 a.m. here in the UK. But yeah, because of the Six Nations, we couldn't do the watch party. And the watch party are kind of like what our live reactions are now. So without them, we didn't really want to, I suppose, devalue our live reactions. But we're doing them this way instead. So we're going to be doing podcast coverage, and there will be a review on the WrestleTalk news channel. But we're going to give our predictions for this show now. Are you excited for Chamber Perth?
I'm excited for Chamber Perth in the same way as I'm excited for, I guess, a nice dinner. Like, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be fun. But I don't feel strongly about it.
This feels like this has got a real B-show feel to it.
And we had a whole conversation about this on the pod previously when we were talking about Roman and Punk and Rock and all that stuff. And I had this whole business of, it is a B-show if you book it like one. If you treat it like one, if the stuff going on the card feels B-show, that's what makes it feel like a B-show. But when you have a stadium, you have a real opportunity to do something with it. Now, Super Showdown, they did a few years ago, that felt like a B-show. This is sort of a little bit suffering from the same effect. I'm going to have a nice time watching it. I'm looking forward to all the matches.
That's what I was going to say, is that I got a B-show feel about it. But actually, when I look up and down the card, I say up and down the card, at the 4 matches that we have on the card here, I can't say that I'm not excited about the in-ring action. Like, I think the in-ring action is going to be great. That tag match in particular, I think, is going to be awesome. I think both of the chamber matches are going to be very good. And there's a chance that this Rhea Ripley Nia Jax match is going to be when Nia Jax needs to step up on these sort of big time things, she's really, really great at it. And Ripley's awesome as well. And the hometown of stuff. So like that's going to really carry a lot of that. But like my anticipation for it, I think feels lesser because there's 4 matches on this card, and I think this is probably the first time that WWE have had a truly 100% predictable show.
I'm trying to work. I mean, I thought Crown Jewel was similarly predictable, or the Rumble was fairly predictable as well.
I think with the Rumble, though, they did such a good job of it. Could be Cody, could be Punk.
Yeah.
I think in the women's one, could be Bayley, could be Becky, and then when you got Jade in there, it's like, well, Jade's an interesting choice. Bianca's an interesting choice. So I think, while you're right, like it felt quite clear on that it's Cody and Bayley. There were at least other options.
Right.
When I'm looking at this chamber, I'm like, oh no, there's only
the two of them.
There's only one option in either of the match of who's going to be the winner of this.
Yeah. It's interesting as well, because given that it's a stadium show, you would almost feel like they could do something with it. I'm stuck with the 4 matches thing. We talked about this on the way into the studio. I find 4 matches to be too few. We've had conversations about how, like, over in the AEW side, because they don't do as many pay-per-views, they just put about 26 matches on.
Too many matches.
Too many matches. I think we've gone too far the other way. I think 6 to 7 is a good number of matches at this point I've landed on, of matches that I enjoy. They don't all need to be super long. A Royal Rumble is different, because 2 Royal Rumbles both going over an hour, that's going to eat up a lot of your time. For me, like, they don't all need to be half-hour matches. And I look at this, and I don't think Elimination Chamber is going to go an hour.
Well, that's what I was about to say. Do you not think that these chamber matches... Considering you've got entrances in there as well, you've got to do 12 entrances across the 2 chambers. I think, segment to segment, they could go an hour.
It's just but that's another problem. If I look at a show, and it's 2 hours 30, and the actual wrestling of that, not entrances, leave entrances away from me, the actual wrestling of that is probably about an hour. I'm like, there's a lot of extraneous baggage here, and I get that they've got to do adverts for Peacock and all the rest of it, and you can use things smartly. Like the Grayson Waller effect segment is going to be interesting, but I don't know. I want another match or maybe another 2 matches.
Yeah, I mean I agree with you on that sense. Like the 4 matches thing, it does feel like, where's the 5th one? Like at least that one more match. Like I wonder if the Grayson Waller thing is going to turn into like a little mini match or something. Cody's like, I've got a surprise tag partner, or is it just going to be what I said to you on the way here, half an hour of just the segment itself, and then Cody cut across Rhodes, and the heels are sent packing, which is what I kind of imagined that it will be. But I think both the chamber matches are probably going to go 45-50 minutes each. So including entrances, you're looking at over an hour for each one of those. That's 2 hours already, and then you've got the other hour to go across the other 2 matches.
It's just the problem I'm having, and this almost sounds like I'm complaining when there's no need to complain. How unlike me that would be. But like, when you think of the last 3 pay-per-views in a row, War Games, Royal Rumble, Elimination Chamber, because they're built around the match type, which itself is long, the rest of the show almost feels a bit neglected.
Oh yeah.
And as a result, that's what makes me feel like, yeah, I'll watch that. I also think there's probably something in the fact that it's taking place at a funky time for America. Obviously, WWE is a worldwide company. That doesn't stop them 48 weeks out of the year, from running times that are inconvenient for the rest of us in the world. But maybe there's something in they're not treating it like the A show situation, because is everyone at home going to tune in and give them the numbers on Peacock live? Then is there going to be spoilers? It's one thing when it's UK times, and so it means they're starting it like in a Super Bowl hour of like 12 noon or something like that.
Yeah.
But versus 2 in the morning,
Exactly, yeah. I'm actually curious, like, let us know in the comments, are you staying up for this? Because if you're on the West Coast, I think it starts at 2 a.m. And then the East Coast starts at 5 a.m.
Hawaii's got it fine.
Yeah.
Hawaii's like PM 6.
So like if you're on the East Coast, that's not too bad getting up at 5 a.m. Like it sucks for a Saturday, but like, even if you got up an hour later, you can just sort of catch on sort of a 1 hour, delay thing. Or you can just get yourself up at 5 and just like brew yourself a little coffee and have that. 2 a.m. for like the West Coast feels like you got to stay up.
Yeah.
If you're on the East Coast, you can go to bed and then wake up. But if you're on the West Coast, probably no. I better just stay awake.
Yeah, that's what it's what we do.
That's what we do.
Yeah,
because I've only done it. I remember when we did the live reactions for Blood and Guts, the first Blood and Guts match that they did, and it started at 2 a.m. And I said, do you know what? I'm so tired. I'm just going to go get a few hours sleep, and then I'll set my alarm for 1:30, and then I'll wake up. And I slept through my alarm.
That's because it's not.
And then, it was a bad idea. The smarter thing would be to do was what I always do, which is just stay awake.
Yeah.
But like, let's go through our thoughts on the card itself and our predictions for it. I don't think this is going to take particularly long, mostly because, as I said, I think it's fairly straightforward on who's coming out as the victors here. We'll start with the Women's Elimination Chamber match. This is for the Women's World Championship #1 contendership at WrestleMania 40. It is Becky Lynch versus Bianca Belair versus Liv Morgan versus Tiffany Stratton versus Naomi versus Raquel Rodriguez, who made her return on Raw this week to win the Last Chance Battle Royal. I think it's fairly pegged on this as Becky Lynch to win this here.
Yeah, I think, as I mentioned on the Raw show, they've had a bit of a misstep with this, because I think there's actually a lot of interesting stuff that they could talk about. For once, Becky, their Elimination Chamber potential winner, probably Becky, that's my prediction, is going to be Becky Lynch, has beef with both Nia and Rhea. So why has it all been about Becky and Rhea? I know that's the match we're building to, but let's not get ahead of the cart. Let's get there first by having both of them win their matches at this pay-per-view, making me want to go and see it. I think that's another reason I'm not particularly excited for the show, is because I feel like, well, I know, because you've told me in every single sense, and you didn't need to, because Liv Morgan's also got beef that she can explain about. She's got history with Rhea. Tiffany Stratton's brand new. Bianca Belair is Bianca Belair.
Just come back.
Exactly. There's so much stuff that they could have done with this, and instead it just feels like I can skip it. It feels like there's nothing driving me to watch this show. And I feel like there could have been.
This kind of ties back into what we were talking about at the top of this broadcast, which is that I am not excited for this show in the sense of, man, I've got to see this show.
Want to see what happens.
I've got to see what happens because it's going to have such huge ramifications on WrestleMania. But in-ring wise, I am excited.
Yeah, I don't want to take anything away from the work.
If you tell me that you've got Finn Balor and Damian Priest versus Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate, I'm watching that match, and I think that match is going to be really, really good. You're looking at the 6 names that are in this match. I'm like, man, this has got a chance to be a really good chamber. The 6 names that are in the men's one, man, that's got a chance to be a really good chamber. But because it's so, I don't need to see it.
Yeah,
I want to see it because it's going to be fun. I don't need to see it. I think that's the difference. That's kind of what you're tying into with this whole like the Becky Lynch thing.
Yeah, and it's also interesting because that's sometimes how I feel on the other side of the wrestling spectrum with some AEW shows, where it's like, well, yeah, the matches are going to be good. It's just that like I need a little bit of something more. Like, what's not in question is the work. When you book matches of the quality that AEW do with the talent like WWE have here, the work is going to be good, and I'm excited to see what they do with that and what they play with it. But in order for me to be like rubbing my hands together, I just want a little bit of spice. I want a little bit of something more, whether that be Sami Zayn's, hometown bloodline freedom storyline that he had then, whether that's who is it going to be possible to dethrone Gunther? Like, Sheamus and Drew and Gunther. Like, I need that match was always going to be amazing. But then you add in the extra stuff of Sheamus has had Gunther beat twice nearly. Drew and Sheamus have history together. Like, all of that stuff was what made that match incredible.
At WrestleMania.
Yeah, WrestleMania 39. I'm just finding examples of ones where, like, inevitably the work is going to be good. It's just I want something to sink my teeth into.
Absolutely. I totally get you. Like,
I think that what I'm saying here is they had it here with this match, and they had a lot of opportunity to do it. And as a result of, I suppose, getting the shot at the press conference, they didn't.
Yeah, them telegraphing this so heavily at the press conference has made this match. I feel bad for like Liv Morgan because she's got like a good story going into this, but it feels like she's not going to come within an arse's roar of getting this.
I hate that as a phrase, but yeah, you're right.
So shout out to the AE podcast. But like, I wonder if I've been thinking about this over the last couple of days of like why interest in this show feels down. And I think part of it is the predictability of this, of the foregone conclusion, let's say, for this show. I think also 2 weeks ago, you and I were being sent to multiple fantasy booking things of Roman and Rock.
Right.
What are they going to be doing at Chamber? And you and I were saying on those shows, certainly I was, you were like, pay them the money, get them out there.
Yeah.
But I was like, they're not going to be on the card.
Yeah.
They're not going to be on the show. Rollins is injured. Brock is gone for.
That's another wrinkle.
Brock's gone for all of those reasons. Punk's injured as well. Like all of a sudden, like all of these names are not on the show. And in some cases, not Brock, but in some of those cases, in fact, all of those cases, those are the people that everyone was kind of excited about. And everyone's excited about this Roman Rock thing and what the bloodline means, but they're not part of this show. So everything else just feels so lesser than.
Yeah. And that's why it's like, okay, take your opportunities where you can and tell a compelling story with your women's chamber and tell an interesting story there. I mean, this is the thing. I want to be clear. The work that they're all doing is good. Drew's character work is excellent. I'm really excited to see what Nia and Rhea are going to get up to. I'm really excited to see what Becky's going to do in her first chamber, this whole business. Tiffany Stratton is really exciting to see her ascend, all of that. It's just, you had a rough run of it there with, all of the things you just mentioned.
Injuries and stuff, yeah.
I don't run the show. I don't have access to the books. You maybe don't have the money to get Roman and Rock to agree to what they want to, to do an appearance even or something. You've also pivoted on to what has been a fantastic storyline. We were talking about it on the SmackDown show. Like the pivot that they've done has been masterful. So that's sort of put your hands behind your back. Same thing with the women's title. Bayley and Io already in there. Adding a challenger for Io would have been muddying that water.
Yeah. So you'd have done that just so you could have a match on the card.
It's like, it's one of those things where I'm trying to be as fair as possible and see all of the reasons that I'm whelmed about this show rather than, over or underwhelmed or whatever. Like,
for the Tag Team Championships, it is the Judgment Day versus British Strong Style, who've been renamed to the New Catch Republic.
And you're going to struggle with calling them the New Catch Republic.
That's because
you love an indie name.
Well, they're British Strong Style, and I said this on the news on Monday. The name's right there. Like, it's already there.
Genuine question, were they as a team ever British Strong Style?
That's what their faction was called.
Okay.
And then within that, you had Mustache Mountain of Pete, Tyler Bate, and Trent Seven. Right. But as a trio, they're British Strong Style.
Right.
But New Catch Republic, I think, is a perfectly fine name. Just, I think British Strong Style is better. I think the Judgment Day retain here because the WrestleMania match is Judgment Day versus Awesome Truth, where Awesome Truth win the belts.
Feels like right. I think,
This match is going to be great, though.
It's going to slap. I mean, look at the match they had with DIY on SmackDown, which was so tasty.
Yeah.
Lovely bit of NXT for us all. And yeah, I think this is going to be great. Balor's in there as well, and they've obviously got all of that shared history of where they, trained in the UK kind of thing, UK and Ireland. So it's going to be great.
I think it's going to be great. You got Judgment Day as well?
Yeah. It's Awesome Truth at WrestleMania. Thank you very much.
Tyler Bate on course to win the award at the end of the year for most naked-looking wrestler.
It's the socks. It's the lack of knee pads, the low boots, and the fact that his trunks look like underwear. It looks like he's woken up and been thrust into a match. It's like, I wasn't expecting that. I was just going to go to the bathroom. He turns the lights on for the bathroom and turns out he's in a stadium in Australia.
We were talking about this on a TLC record for an episode that won't be out for a little while yet. The idea of, Austin at WrestleMania when he forgot his jacket, he left it at the hotel.
No.
And I think it's 15.
Yeah.
He doesn't have his jacket. And everyone's like, it's Austin. He doesn't have his jacket. But then you're like, no, he hasn't got his jacket. That's really weird. Why isn't he coming out with his jacket?
Yeah.
So I have that sometimes with Tyler Bates. Like, why aren't you coming out with your gear? Like, where's the rest of your gear gone?
We not got dressed today, Tyler.
Yeah, well, Tyler Bate, I love Tyler to pieces, but he proper looks like the default wrestler setting.
He does.
On 2K24 before you actually put any of the attire on someone.
Yeah.
You've just done the hair.
Yeah.
You've just done this hair and the beard, and they've gone, actually, there's too many menus.
Yeah.
There's too many options these days. I can't go through it all.
Yeah.
For the Women's World Championship, it is Nia Jax versus Rhea Ripley. I imagine this will be the main event of the show.
Ooh.
If I was booking the show, I would have this as the main event. And it's a little story.
Oh, go on.
I was at NXT TakeOver London, and Bayley was my girl. Bayley still is my girl. Bayley is kind of like we as UK fans adopted Bayley and sort of made her one of our own. So we wanted to see Bayley. She was arguably one of the most over, if not the most over person on that entire card. I cannot tell you how worried I was that Nia Jax was going to take the belt off of her because I wanted to see Bayley win. And that match, I loved it. I thought it was so awesome. I thought that Bayley and Nia Jax were so, so great. I think it is Nia Jax's best match she had in WWE. I love that match. And part of that is that hometown reaction that the UK fans, the London fans had for Bayley. I think we're going to see some of that magic here in this match. Sure, it feels like it's a foregone conclusion that Rhea Ripley is going to retain, and my prediction for this match is Rhea Bloody Ripley. But I'm really, really excited to see the in-ring action on this.
Yeah, it's so interesting because Nia also had great chemistry with Asuka, like in NXT as well. So like she's and in this most recent run, she's really shown that. I think a lot of the criticism leveled her way was unfair.
I think some of it's mostly the amount of injuring one person said, that's a mistake.
Yeah.
Injuring two, accidents happen. But when it kept happening, it was like, That's when questions started to be raised, I think.
Yeah. In that case, I think what I'm trying to get at is that it's like, well, credit where it's due. You've gone away and come back and improved yourself wholesale.
This run has been great.
Yeah. So it's good to see that for people. I agree with you completely. Rhea's winning this match. I feel it would be quite something if they didn't. But I feel like there are better stories to tell. What a waste of a press conference slot that could have gone to Bayley if you don't go with Becky and Rhea at this point. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. There's something about the inevitability of it that doesn't make me feel like that should be the main event. I like the reference to TakeOver London because I see that parallel there, and I think that was a good shout. I just don't really see. I don't see it being that much of a. Will it happen? Won't it happen? Do you know what I mean?
I think the only way this wouldn't be the main event in my books is because you can bookend the show with Chambers.
Yeah,
so you
that's
can,
what I was
open
thinking.
with the women's, close with the men's, or vice versa, and then you have the Ripley match in the middle there. But I think there's no Bronson Reed's not on this show. Indy Hartwell is not on this show. Grayson Waller is on this show, but he's in a talk show segment and he's a baddie. So this is kind of like the Australian representation on this show. And I think she's going to be the most over person on that card. I would probably I would save her for the main event.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's Rhea Ripley to retain, probably with a super riptide off the middle ropes to get the win. That's my prediction for the finish as well.
And they'll shout a lot about you can do that in 2K24.
Yeah. Which brings us to our last Elimination Chamber match for the a shot at the World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins at WrestleMania 40. It is Drew McIntyre versus Randy Orton versus Bobby Lashley versus LA Knight versus Kevin Owens versus Logan Paul. I feel that, because I've got Drew, I think again is the foregone conclusion here that Drew McIntyre is winning this. Unlike the women's match, I don't think they have given you enough to put something on the other guys. See what I mean by that is, in the women's one, Becky Lynch is the foregone conclusion, but Liv Morgan's got a story going into this that she wants revenge on Rhea Ripley. Bianca Belair is Miss WrestleMania. She's undefeated at WrestleMania. She wants to win another title at WrestleMania. Tiffany Stratton is brand new. She's just come back from NXT. She's looking to make it. Naomi's just come back. Raquel's just come back from injury. In the men's one, Drew is the foregone conclusion. The rest of them are just... Well, A, they're on the other show, but B, they just, I don't know, it doesn't feel like they want to win that belt.
Yeah.
Like, this more feels like, I want a match at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Like, Bobby Lashley doesn't feel like he's desperate to win the World Heavyweight Championship. He's busy with Wish.com ministry. And it doesn't feel like LA Knight, he was going for Roman's belt just 1 month ago, as was Randy Orton. And Kevin Owens and Logan Paul have got their own thing going on.
Yeah, it feels like a few, especially Logan Paul and Kevin Owens, feels like it's been put in there to make the match fun and have some stuff going on during it. I feel like if you'd have put in a Sami Zayn, you would have had an extra story.
Absolutely.
Whether that's between Drew and Sami or just purely Sami wanting to get the belt. He's got that thing about wanting to be at WrestleMania kind of thing, and this would have allowed you to do that a little bit, like give it a little extra spice in there.
Have him in the final two, him and Drew, and he just comes close to winning and he doesn't.
Yeah, something like that where it gives it a little extra intrigue. I agree. I also think the fact it is hampered by the fact that there are 5 people from the other brand who haven't been looking at that belt and being like, I could go for that. You know, they're just... an opportunity for a belt, I'll take it. Which, like, is fair enough.
That's what it feels like a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, they're not. Drew is desperate to win that title. Like, that is his mission, is to win that title.
Yeah.
The other 5 are just like, oh, that'd be nice.
Especially given that 2 of them, as you say, lost to Roman last month. It's like, I didn't get that one. I'll go for this one instead.
That's where I think some of the B-show feeling comes from. I'm actually looking at this now. I think I would open with this match because I don't think this is going to be as heated as the women's one.
It's interesting.
Because the women's one's got some other stuff going on.
And I think that's why I ultimately can't find myself anything more than pleasantly sitting there with a cup of tea watching the show.
Bingo.
Rather than like, I'm going to make a point of going to our watch party or sitting at my mate's house or staying up all night with a pint of beer or whatever.
We were really excited to do the watch party for this before, Six Nations ruined everything. Stupid rugby. We're excited to do this because we love getting together with everyone. 150 of our friends and our getting together and watching the show together. We would have had a great time doing it. But because we're not doing that, and we were like, should we do live reactions for it anyway? It's kind of like, I just don't think there's enough interest in the shows. Like, I don't feel no one's clamoring for us to do live reactions to this show, other than it's a YouTube thing to do live reactions to this show. Like, it's almost like it almost feels like we should be doing it but there's no appetite for us to do it because I don't think there is that desire to see what's going to happen on this card.
Do you know what it is? I feel so odd sounding like I'm being really negative about a product that I think I'm really enjoying at the moment.
It's an incredibly good product right now.
It is. Like, I'm for so long it was this thing of like, just enjoy wrestling, just enjoy this, just enjoy that.
Just let it play out.
Just let it play out. But like, when it was bad, and now it's really great. And here we've got a show that is objectively going to be fun, but I've sort of raised my bar a little bit for you.
I wonder if that's what it is. WWE have set a high bar, and they have done with their pay-per-views as well, because they have had a really great run of pay-per-views. There's only been a couple of duds in the Triple H era.
Crown Jewel was a dud for me.
And I would say that Extreme Rules was a dud show.
In 2023, 2022. Yeah.
But really, in the Triple H era, and even then, they're not bad shows. You don't come out being like, woof, what an absolute stinker. But like Crown Jewel, I think is a good example. He came out being like, yeah, it was fine.
Yeah.
Like, that was a totally fine show. I think they have set such a high bar, not just in terms of in-ring quality and star power and just the how hot the product is, but also story and drama and passion and like this desire to want to see things. And I think that's missing from this show. This show feels like a contractual obligation rather than a pay-per-view.
Yeah, and it's again all the empathy for the various kerfuffles that they've had along the way trying to make it happen. But it does feel like a missed opportunity. You know, they've got the star power, like you say, in the people who aren't Brock Lesnar, The Rock, Roman Reigns, to do something interesting. Punk injury, you know, could Cody have had a match? Like, I don't know. There's a level of it's just such a weird feeling because I've been enjoying it so much, and I try and be an optimist.
Absolutely.
It gets me in trouble sometimes, but like I like to be like, yeah, let's have a positive hat on.
That's why, like, the positive hat that I've got on here is that, well, hey, the show's gonna be fun.
Yeah, that's it. It's not going to be. It would take something drastic for it to be a bad show.
That's kind
which
of
is the nice place to be in at this stage.
Of course, that's my sort of overall feeling of this show. Is that like my positive hat is this is going to be a fun show. I look at those 4 matches. I don't look at that and be like, oh man, some stinkers in there. I look at 4 matches. I'm like, those are 4 great matches. But taking off my positivity hat, I'm like, but I think it's just, I've got no need to see this show.
Yeah.
I'm going to have fun with it.
Yeah.
But I don't need to see it. And I think WWE has gotten to a point where it is both want and need. And I feel like they've just missed that one here.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But we are going to be doing a podcast review of the show. It'll be myself and Pete Quinnell reviewing the show this coming Saturday. And I'll be doing a review of the show over on the WrestleTalk Podcast channel if you like it in a 10-minute edited format. But if you want to join us, please do. And subscribe to this channel as well. We have passed our 85,000 goal, which means our next step is 100,000 subscribers. And I'll get my own one of these. Everyone else got one. No Rolls Bard's got one. partsFUNknown's got one. WrestleTalk's got one. Not me. Not me and my channel. We don't have one. So we're on our way. I'm going to get me one of these plaques and it's going to go up on this set. I've been working on that for years now.
Let's have a race. This channel versus my personal channel that I've been trying to get. I've been hovering around it for about 10 years now.
Oh man, yeah, but if you take that, everyone's just going to go and like. I mean, we should do anyway.
That's true.
I would tell everyone to go subscribe to Dan Layton's channel. He's putting great content up on there. Yeah. So yeah, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. You are new here as well. We are going to be putting in plans for our 85,000 subscribers. We'll do something in March.
I've got some pitches for you.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pitch soon to do something in March. I think because if we leave it any longer, then it's into WrestleMania season, and I'd rather not mess with WrestleMania season because our watch parties will be coming back, and I want to try and I've got some things I want to like to do for the 85,000. But yeah, leave a comment down below. Are you excited for this show? Do you have both the want and the need for this show? Or are you staying up for it? Are you going to watch this on demand? You're going to watch this at a later date? Let us know in the comments down below. But we will see you tomorrow here on the WrestleTalk Podcast channel. Myself and Oliver Davis reviewing Dynamite. Until then, I've been Luke Owen, DAD. That has been Dan Layton. Jam that jam.